Hey guys, it's me. I'm back here because I said I might be back to do some kind of review, and here I am. I just watched the new Candyman movie, which was out a year ago or something. I think now it might have been a year, it might have been 6 months ago. I'm trying to remember when it came out. For those of you who have never seen the original Candyman, it has Tony Todd and Virginia Madsen, and it's a great, fantastically made movie. Has a very Dracula feel to it with kind of the romance, and the backstory is very tragic and stuff like that. And Tony Todd is just amazingly creepy. It has such a presence. And just, yeah, one of the best horror film of the 90s, I feel. It's just an excellent made film. And the sequels, the second one was okay. Third one that was just really cheaply made, straight to video, bad stuff. So when I heard they were going to do this, I was kind of like, okay, interesting. I'm interested to see. And I heard Tony Todd was involved, so I'm like, all right, cool, Tony Todd, awesome. They're going to bring him back. But then, I'd heard some things here and there about it, and I'm like, okay. So I figured I'll wait to rent it, just because to me personally, it's just a thing of like, if I'm going to go spend money to the theater, which can be, 12, 13, 14 bucks, depending on what you're doing, I've had so many experiences where I used to just always go to the theater and see stuff, and then if a movie really sucks, then you feel like, well, there goes my money. So I figured, dollar Redbox or see it on streaming, whatever the case. So in this case, it was Redbox because it wasn't on any streaming services that I had. So anyway, this picks up many years later, and the character of Anthony was the baby from the original that Helen Lyle saved from the fire and stuff like that. So I thought that's a nice way to tie it, back into the original. And at first when I saw the trailers, I saw the thing about them kind of changing his origin, but I'm like, well, why would they do that? It's like he's already got this tragic backstory. There's no reason to really do that. But what happened was it's more about, much like the first one, an urban legend. It gets passed down, and the story changes, and the characters, it gets more ridiculous sometimes. So I thought they did a good job with that. They even do a thing where they tell Helen Lyle's story, and it's totally not at all what happened and all that. But anyway, our Anthony, he's dating played by Yaya, I think his name is Yaya Mentine. Second, I believe, is his name. If I'm saying his name wrong, I apologize. Really good actor. He's been in a lot of things lately. He's definitely a rising star, obviously, or already is a star, I guess you could say. Of course, he was Black Manta in Aquaman, and I said he was in a Black Mirror episode with Anthony Mackie. I remember the video game one where they had the romance. That was weird. It was good, but it was fun. And then I think it's I'm mispronouncing names badly, but is it Tavon Paris, I think is how she said. She was on the WandaVision. She's going to be, she has Monica Rambeau, and she's going to be in the Captain Marvel sequel. So I really liked her in the show. She was pretty good. So they were your main two characters. And some other good actors as well. The guy who's telling them the story and all that, I guess he's on The Walking Dead. I stopped watching that after Negan showed up, and I just kind of saw it, just kind of where it was headed. I'm like, I feel like I kind of checked out of that one. Unlike American Horror Story, which I stayed for 10 seasons. I don't know. I just think I got zombied out, I think, really. But anyway, that's not what this is about. See, I'm rambling again. It's what I do. So yeah, he's an artist, and much like Daniel Robitaille, so a nice little connection there. And he's an artist, and he's living in Chicago, and he's dealing with all these pretentious art critics and stuff like that. And he's trying to find a good, his art isn't quite selling well, and the guy who's, his agent is just like, oh, I need something more. The guy from 10 years ago was much better, and and so anyway, he hears about Cabrini Green, looks it up, and sees the story and stuff like that, and he gets, by the way, spoilers if you haven't seen it, so yeah, sorry. Anyway, he gets stung by a bee while he's taking these pictures, and And throughout the movie, it kind of starts to scab up or whatever, and it's really decent body horror and stuff like that. Like there's a point where he's touching his fingernail, and I'm like, oh god, please don't do the fly thing, because that was one of the things with the fly, Jeff Goldblum one, when he like peels his. That's like it's like I've even gotten used to people like seeing eyeballs pulled out in horror movies or something like that. You know, that used to make me cringe, but like nothing like a finger or toenail this part here, especially if it gets peeled off, oof, I can't, it gives me the willies. So luckily that didn't actually happen, but still it was like he was picking at a scab, and it's just like, oh, stop picking at it. And then of course several people do the Candyman thing, and several people get killed, and the legend starts to grow again. And the guy he meets at the laundromat was the one that was telling him the story, and he kind of goes through the whole history, and he even goes back to Daniel Robitaille and his story that started it all. We find out later on, of course, he's starting to lose it, Anthony is, and people keep ending up dead, and then basically, we go to a flashback where the guy who was telling the story, his sister would summon Candyman, and she got killed. And so finally, he's gonna basically, he sees that Anthony's changing and all that, and he cuts his freaking hand off and sticks a hook in it, and gives him the coat and everything. So he's like, "You're the Candyman now," and his legend will grow. And he starts. So basically, you have to kind of wonder. It's a good thing to think about whether or not he was really some of these other stories besides Daniel Robitaille's, if any of them were actual legitimate stories, or if he was just telling them to tell the story, or maybe they were. Who knows? That's something for the director to comment on, I guess. So then cops come and they shoot him. Little social commentary there. And then she basically summons Candyman. He kills all the cops. And then right towards the end or whatever, the bees are surrounding Anthony's face, and then he basically turns into Tony Todd. And then he's like, spread my name, whatever the case. Tell everyone, I think is basically what it is. Yeah. And that's the end. So my overall thoughts on it, it's pretty good. Definitely the best sequel in terms of the Candyman legend. In terms of the cinematography was really well. It opens up with the same kind of overcasting shot that the original did, where you're seeing kind of over the city, the skyscrapers and the city around and stuff like that. And like I said, the acting was really good. I enjoyed both the main characters. Some of the side characters were fun. Her gay brother and all that he gave me a few laughs here and there. So, and the guy who was telling the story, he was nice and creepy, and the kills were decent, and they kind of hid Candyman in the shadows somewhat, since it wasn't Tony Todd playing it as much most of the movie. So that was, it was a well-made film, and I definitely liked the little puppetry kind of artist type thing, a little puppet, kind of almost cut out puppets things, but it was done in the color. It was just really a really good artistic choice. That was so overall a pretty good movie. Obviously, my only real criticisms, my number one is just you have Tony Todd, with this amazing freaking presence on screen, and I know what they were going for with the story. Is that basically he needed a new vessel, essentially, I guess, and so that's how he would rise again. So if they made a sequel to it and Tony Todd's back, hey, cool. But it was just me personally. Anytime I see Tony Todd in anything, whether it's a voiceover role on the He-Man thing where he was playing Scareglow, or just anything he's in, it doesn't even have to be a horror thing. It's just that voice is so iconic, and it's just it's creepy but so awesome. And he's just and just anything you see in interviews, he just seems like a truly humble and awesome, really intelligent, cool guy. The type of guy I like to just talk to for hours. That's the thing. It's just a personal thing there. It's like, Tony Todd, come on, you have Tony Todd. It's I remember the Scarecrow Slayer movie me and my friend rented. And he's in it for like 10 minutes, gets killed at the beginning. And I just remember the director's just like, well, we're really excited to get Tony Todd. I'm like, you killed him 10 minutes in. If you're really excited, you would have made him the star of the movie. But, but then again, that could have been a salary thing too. I maybe not couldn't afford him. But no, it's not, I like to see more of Tony Todd. But like I said, the rest of the actors were good, and the transformation and him starting to lose it and stuff like that was well acted and stuff like that. The only thing else I would say is some of the social commentary was a little, I don't want to say preachy because I know that's a bad word, but a little heavy-handed at times. Like, I totally understand the conversation about gentrification and things like that. And those are legitimate criticisms. But it did get to a certain point where, like, every other goddamn minute it's just like, well, white people did this and white people... And it's like, yeah, okay, I believe me, I know. I understand the history of things and this freaking goddamn country and what we've done to people. Lots of people. But it's just like, I understand your message, and I respect your message, and that's totally fine. But it was just, it got to this little point where it's just like, okay, we get it. Can we get on with the story in the movie here? It just felt like, by the way, here's another, and I'm not complaining about it overall. I'm not like, oh, it's so woke, and that's not what it's about. Because I'm woke, if you want to go that route, but like, it was just, sometimes there was moments where it's like, okay, I get your point. Let's move on now. It's like, this is a horror movie. Let's just move on into the horror. And yes, I understand there's a lot of real life horrors especially with cops and stuff. So I mean, it's definitely relevant. And it's been relevant for a long time. It was relevant when first Candyman was made. So that's a little thing. And the only thing, it didn't really bother me overall, but it did seem like they were really going out of their way to kill a lot of white people in this movie. And that's not a big deal. It's like, it's a horror movie. It's, the slasher and stuff like that. People get killed. That's not a really big deal to me. But it's like, it just felt like every single character. And they were meaningless characters. It wasn't like they were likable characters either. So typical horror thing of, I don't give a shit about these characters anyway. I'm glad they're going to die. But it was just kind of like, I don't know. It just felt like a little like overboard of like, okay, let's kill another. Well, kill that next white person, I think about the only white person that survived was the gay brother's boyfriend. So it's like, it just felt like a little bit like, okay, we could kill somebody else now. It's not white, because I'm only those guys, they're just killing all the white people. It's not like that. But it was just kind of like, okay, like, how many, to be fair too, like, yeah, I get the 80s cliche, the black guy dies first, or 70s, whatever the case. But it wasn't like they just like made a slasher movie and then every single black person dies and they're the only ones that get killed. That's all I'm trying to say. It's just like, I understand what you're trying to do, but it's just like, okay. And granted, it wasn't like they were like, oh man, I really like that character. It was just like, oh, they were all assholes anyway. And they were summoning the Candyman thing. So, I mean, they got what they deserved. But it was just kind of, I don't know, it just felt like, oh, okay, did you kill somebody else here, But yeah, not a major complaint. But overall, I thought it was well done. Like, if they did a follow-up and Tony Todd's the main Candyman and he's continuing his thing, great. If not, no, that's fine. But yeah, overall, yeah, I would have liked to see more Tony Todd and, let the legend grow. But yeah, so overall, I'd say it's a decent watch. It's, like I said, really well. Cinematography is really good. It's got a nice ambiance and stuff like that. Like I said, the stuff with the puppets is really creepy and cool. Even like the end credits use the original, do. It seems to be a cover, but it's like, the same kind of like thematic song that they had in the original. So I thought that was kind of cool. So they had a lot of homages and things here and there. So I thought it was well done, and it still respected the legend of Candyman. It wasn't like shitting on it, because obviously, why would you? Because it's like, it's Candyman. It's a great. I said Candyman was one of those great horror movies of the 90s that was like, it had a great message then too. Yeah, it's the only thing I was saying is like, why couldn't you have gotten Virginia Madsen back for some flashbacks? And I know they were kind of doing a lot of this flashback stuff in the story with the puppetry, which was cool, but it was like, hey, you could have at least given her a small role. A lot of people come back for things. I'm sure she wouldn't have minded. But yeah, whatever. So yeah, give it a chance, give it a shot, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and watch this Antlers movie, which I've heard pretty good things about. So let's see how creepy this one is. So maybe I'll do a review for that one. Maybe I won't. Who knows? Anyway, guys, like and subscribe, and yeah, check out Candyman.